Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Fireside Chat. I am Dr. Monica Riley. I am the president of the Women of Global Change Las Vegas chapter, and we are thrilled to have you with us this evening. We are going to be having an amazing, insightful, and hopefully inspirational conversation with our guest expert, financial freedom coach, Lisa Chastain. And the topic that we are going to be discussing tonight is the financial future is female. They're just like, let's say that 3 times fast, right? Before we get started with our conversation, I just want to let you know that we are a global sisters in service organization. We have more than 20 chapters right now, global wide. And this is wonderful because one of the reasons that we record these fireside chats on a global platform is so that our sisters in other countries can tune in and gain access to different types of education and knowledge about business, community, health, education, all kinds of topics. And one of the reasons that I'm inspired to talk about finances and money is because right now we are living in such an amazing position. We as women, business owners, uh, founders, female founders, we are really perched in a prime position. And I will go a little bit into that in a minute. But first, before we get started, just to ground ourselves, there's so much that's going on, regardless of where you're tuning in from. We just want to kind of bring down the energy levels a little bit, relax. I'm just sipping on water this evening and happy that we're getting some rain in Las Vegas. And I wanted to share with you one of my wows, my words of wisdom, one of my inspired thoughts to kind of keep us grounded right now. And first of all, we have to always remember to breathe. So if you are stressed, if you're feeling anxious, just inhale and exhale. Something as small as breathing, but as critical as breathing, can really calm the nervous system and kind of bring you into a grounded space. And I'd just like to share with you this evening to when you're feeling like you need something to grasp onto, um, adopt an attitude of gratitude. Be grateful for the gift of the present because living in the present opens doors to self awareness. So, welcome, welcome, everyone. Welcome, Lisa. It is wonderful to have you with us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica.
And I want to share, I've been kind of like, I don't want to say a stalker of Lisa's for the last 2 years, but I have definitely been a fan of Lisa Chastain's for the last 2 years. And I want to share with you a little bit about Lisa's accomplishments and the incredible #1 best-selling book, Girl, Get Your Together.
Yes.
Right? And that is applicable on so many different levels. And before we explore all of the levels, let me share a little bit about Lisa. Lisa has been coaching, mentoring, and advising millennials for nearly 20 years. From an advisor in higher education to financial advisor, and as a seasoned life coach, She has learned what it takes to make dreams become reality. Lisa has also had her own personal struggles with learning how to manage her money and live her most authentic life. From being at the top of her game in 2011 to burning through $100,000 to start her own business and reinvent herself through financial failure and divorce, Lisa uses real life stories and simple strategies and tools to help women get what they want in life. Her company, Millennial Consulting LLC, inspires women to be the boss of their finances and lives by mentoring them on how to control their money, live purposefully, and love their lives. Her number one best-selling book, Girl, Get Your Shit Together, teaches millennial women how to own their history with money so that they can boss up and own their futures. Lisa has recently been seen on CNBC, NBC News, MSN Money, and the Oprah magazine, Fortune and Entrepreneur magazines, and she is one of Las Vegas Women Magazine's People to Watch in 2018. Lisa is a Las Vegas native, and when she's not speaking, coaching, or working in her business, she's spending quality time with her family. Welcome again to our Fireside Chat platform, Lisa Chastain.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to the Women of Global Change and to you, Monica, for hosting tonight's event.
Absolutely. And how are you doing tonight? Let's start with the basics.
I am grateful. I'm grateful. The attitude of gratitude. I don't get to do fireside chats a whole lot. And when I do, usually I'm a speaker. And I love this format so much that it's more of a relaxed conversation, down to earth conversation. And I really hope that whoever's here and whoever's listening, I'm just so grateful that you're here for whatever reason that you're here. And I hope it's a valuable conversation for everyone.
I'm really excited too, because, one of the reasons that I started the Fireside Chat platform was not only to showcase the members of our Las Vegas chapter, which are a group of incredible women from business owners, educators, health workers. I mean, we run the gamut. And I thought about you, and I was kind of half kidding about the stalker thing, because I think I found out about you. I found you 2 years ago, and I was just so intrigued by the title of your book. And before we get into some of our questions, I'm curious, how did you come up with the title, Girl, Get Your Shit Together? And for those of you who don't have the book, I definitely encourage you to go out and purchase the book. One of the things I like about Lisa is her holistic approach to learning about money. As women, so many of us, and regardless of how we were raised, how our parents felt about money, money really is an emotional thing, right? And many of us have a fear of money or an ambivalence about money. We embrace money. We might have a disdain towards money. Money really is a thing. It's a whole thing. It's a whole holistic thing. And I was really drawn to your book first because of the title.
Thank you. Well, the title happened literally, I was driving down the I-15 one day on the way home. And after working with my publishers, we hadn't chosen a title yet. We were really thinking about okay, what is this book for? What's the message that we want to convey? And driving down the I-15 stuck in traffic one day, it popped in my head. Not only was I talking to myself probably at some level, but I was thinking, what woman doesn't at any point in her life say that to herself? Regardless of the room that you're in, regardless of career, regardless of stage in life. I mean, I know I've walked into a room of very successful women and I look at, and I'm like, okay, I really need to get my stuff together, you know? Like I'm feeling like I need to get my stuff together around other successful women. So I felt like it was a relatable title, and I have a very casual brand because I want to make money casual. And I ran with it. I tested it with my book team, and I tested it with my clients. Everybody loved it, and that's how it came about.
And it's such a great title. For me, as a medical doctor, there are many times when I have prospective clients or patients come to me, and my specialty is integrative medicine. So I really vibe with you on the holistic understanding of your area of expertise. And with me also, sometimes I look at people and I'm like, man, you just need to get your shit together.
Yes.
There's certain things with respect to your health that you should be doing, or maybe that I've advised you to do and you're still not doing. Like, when are you going to get it together?
Yes.
And I was intrigued by this topic as a medical professional and also as a business owner. I own two very successful businesses, and coming out of last year, which was so wobbly and precarious for so many of us, and especially those of us who own businesses, I was reading Forbes, and one quote that I came across, which just really intrigued me. And I said, you know what, on so many levels, this hits me on so many levels, but let me share this with you. This is how I came up with the topic, the financial future is female. Women account for 51% of the US population, yet according to a survey by S&P Global, only 26% of women have money invested in the stock market compared to 60% of men. In fact, 65% of women have a large percentage of their money in cash, and 41% of women have no plans to invest that cash. Do we need a mindset shift? Are we fearful of financial savvy? And that struck me because, sometimes we don't realize our power, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have the power. Now we have the knowledge, at least if you don't want to listen to experts as yourself, financial experts, at least maybe you'll read an article, and because it's in print, maybe you'll believe it. But the bottom line is, as women, we have the power in our hands right now, right? What are we
We do.
doing with it, Lisa? Do we need a mindset shift?
I do. And in the area of just taking the bull by the horns, I really think that that's all it comes down to at this point. These are powerful statistics. And when you add these statistics on to the fact, this is a fact, that women own the majority of every degree from associate's level to PhD. So over 51% of all degrees given are to women, all degrees. So we are the most highly educated women on the planet ever. So what are we waiting for? And we can't wait for permission. I think women empowerment is amazing, and I think also it served its purpose. And we're at the point now where we don't need to be empowered anymore. We just need to go out and make it happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we really do. We're at um, I feel like we're at a unique point in 2021. And it's unique because of what you just mentioned. We are in 2021 the most educated group of women that we've seen in history.
Ever.
And also, in many ways, the wealthiest as well. We have access to wealth. We
Mm-hmm.
have access to knowledge on how to build wealth, how to create wealth, how to leave legacies of wealth for our children and our grandchildren. And I'm just wondering, I love how you said we literally just have to take the bull by the horns. But how do you go about the approach of helping someone to shift their mindset from fear of finance to success?
Working with women and knowing that we have really embraced education, I think that's the first step, is that women have many women that I work with have a limiting conversation about their ability to even understand money, or a limiting conversation that they're not good with money. And this other statistic really stands out for me, is that women spend 85% of the world's wealth. So whether we actually earn it or not, we're way behind on the earning statistics. Globally, we earn 10% of the world's wealth. So we spend 85% of the world's wealth. We earn 10% of the world's wealth. That gap will be closing over this next century, without a doubt. I believe that. But because it's not earned by us, we still have the power in our fingertips. We have the purchasing power. We have the power of the vote in the way that we spend money. And we are making investments every single day. And so for me, the mindset shift that I work with my clients is that there's actually three ways that we invest. We invest our time, we invest with people, and we invest with money. And what we have in control right now today is how we're investing our time and who we're investing our time with. And so the mindset shift that we make every day with money is that, yes, you can. And you're investing every single day in yourself and in others. And let's look at those relationships. Let's look at those choices that you're making every single day, and then map it to your finances, which is a much more approachable conversation. And then we look at, like you said, the holistic part of our lives. And it's much easier to make new financial decisions and shifts without opening up a book or feeling like you have to be an expert investor. Once you feel like you have things under control there, the mindset shift happens where you see, oh, I can save. Oh, I can be in control of my money. Oh, I can have hard conversations with the people that I love. I can renegotiate. I can negotiate. Those are all life skills. And then the money comes right along with it, which is all for me about raising our worth across the board in our lives. I don't think that directly answered your question, but I hope it was valuable.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, as you're speaking about raising our worth and investing in our lives and in our value quotient, so to
Yeah.
speak, what industries should we be looking at currently to kind of stock fold and build our portfolios?
Well, different pieces of portfolios are going to go up and down based on where we're at in cycle. So right now, real estate's really hot, but it's not hot for the buyer, it's hot for the seller. So even though we're looking at real estate really heavily right now, it's not necessarily the best time to buy real estate. It's actually going to be value stocks. And as we're seeing some of our emerging markets shift, we always want to buy low and sell high. But really, the future of the world is going to be in tech. So tech stocks, I think you want to watch, and you want to get into tech stocks when you can, and also cryptocurrency. It's really volatile, but I believe that we will have a future using cryptocurrency, and now's the time to start watching and learning and investing. And the way I describe it is, and I'm not a investment advisor anymore. I don't hold licenses. I don't give that kind of advice. But really, if we think of it as a game, then we can just start to play the game and start to dabble, even if we don't know a lot. And it's a little bit easier to dip our toe in it. So tech, artificial intelligence, real estate would be something to watch. And then value stocks, watching the S&P, seeing what companies are doing well. The companies that are doing really well right now in business are values-driven and culture-driven companies. So watch the companies that are investing in their people and that are building healthy cultures. And those are the companies that you want to be investing in, I think, because they're creating better futures for their people. And with COVID, that's going to be a big deal over this next decade.
Right. And I was reading an article recently, and one of my businesses is in the wellness industry. The wellness industry is leading that charge by like $18 billion right now. So if you are interested in starting a company or interested in investing a company, the wellness industry really is at the top of the game right now. And as you just said, Lisa, it's because of COVID and the symbiotic relationship, obviously, with wellness and health. That's probably going to be something that's going to continue for a while.
It will be for a long while too. So I listed out, I did some research on the top company, like the top industries and sectors that you want to pay attention to. And right now, registered nurses and medical professionals is number one.
Yep.
Number one. Data analysts, Bitcoin miners right now are making a fortune because they're building warehouses. They're putting people in seats to mine Bitcoin. Plumbers and electricians, that's not going to go away anytime soon, even with artificial intelligence. We've got third world countries that are coming up. That need will be great, even internationally. Dentists and dental hygienists, right? Software developers, cybersecurity experts, alternative energy installers and technicians, and mental health professions. Those are the top 8.
Ah, yes, mental health. And we're going to be doing a fireside chat in September, specifically on mental health. As the financial freedom coach, you inspire female founders to invest in mindset shifts. What is your formula? Let's say maybe you have 2 or 3 steps. If you're working with a client who totally has a fear of money, and kind of like a block with respect to talking about money and finances. She comes to you and she says, Lisa, I need help. I'm newly divorced. I'm raising my 3 children now, basically as the dominant parent in the household. What do I do?
The first thing is, especially if we're talking about someone who has a big fear or block of money, is we have to take it slow, because money's a wormhole. It's a wormhole. And if we focus too much on the high level stuff, and also in the money industry, which probably a lot of you know, is that it's got its own language and jargon. And so the very first step for me and for my mentors and my team is to make it very simple and create common language around money. And usually what happens if someone's really blocked, I teach these 5 money personalities. What happens is, even if you're not an avoider in your business or you're an avoider in other areas of your lives, if you've got a money block, you end up avoiding your money altogether, which can be, as you know, for a business owner, it can be detrimental. So we start by looking at our past relationship with money. When we're looking at the block, we have to try to, in a non-psychological way, like, I'm not a therapist, but we have to really look back at, where did you learn about money? And a lot of the times it's that they never did. They've just learned, they've gotten really good at overcompensating in other areas. And business owners, we've just gotten good at making money. Right? So if we just keep making money, then somehow this block will, and if we don't look at our money, at least if we just keep making more money, that's somehow going to solve our problems. So while we look at our past and we try to understand what limiting beliefs we have about money and where those limiting beliefs came from, even by the process of just talking about it, which is why I know I'm here, it opens up a lot. And that can unblock you even just from a conversation. And then it's saying, okay, I'm going to hold your hand. I am a mentor. I'm not just an expert. I'm going to be here with you as your sister, as your friend. And we are going to start walking this path together. And we are going to start looking at your money. That's it. We're going to look at your money. We're going to track it. And however long that takes for you to understand what you're actually looking at, we're going to do this. And it'll take 6 months. It might take 3 months. For most of my clients, it takes a year or 2 years, and then they're on a new path. But it's just through looking at our money, tracking our money in a very simple way, does the rest open up to us, because we think somehow we have to be business finance experts, and we really don't. We just need to know and understand how money's coming in and going out, and then we can slow life down long enough to start making new choices. So when it comes to mindset, for me, it's really about having a safe place to open up and have conversation, because money can be very shameful, especially if we're busy business owners trying to appear successful and we've got this money stuff going on behind the scenes. Safe, neutral place to have conversation, start looking at our money together. The third thing is creating a trusting relationship with our money. As a woman of faith, God talks about how you can't be trusted with the big things until you can be trusted with the little things. And I believe that's true with money as well. If you don't trust yourself with the day-to-day choices that you're making with your finances, how can you ever tap into the abundance that's waiting for you? And so I have a formula. I teach my clients and publicly what a trusting relationship with money looks like. And then we get moving in that direction. That opens up the rest of the amazing financial abundance that's coming. I really believe it's coming. And if you don't believe it yourself, borrow my belief that it is, and let's keep taking action in the right direction.
Absolutely. And I like how you talk about the relationship between taking an active role in participation and the abundance, because the abundance is ours, right? We just have to, as you said earlier, grab the bull by the horns. And I feel, as you do, that if we take an active role and an active understanding, um, and think of this as a journey, like, it's not a sprint, right? It's a relay. It's a journey. It's a lifetime journey. It's a pathway, and it opens up so many doors to other things. And I think that, at least as I've observed, the more successful a business is, the more active the founder and owner of that business is. In other words, yes, we are only as successful as the team that works with us, right?
Absolutely.
And that lifts us up. But and on that team, we may have a CPA or two, a financial investor or two or three. But we can't just pawn off those responsibilities onto those people. We have to take an active role.
Yes.
Which means that we have to understand what that is, what that looks like.
Yeah, we see this play out every day in celebrity life when people they're blindly trusting professionals.
Exactly.
You have to know what questions to ask. You have to know how to read financial reports. You don't have to be actively managing it yourself, but I totally agree. You have to know, and it's not going to happen overnight, but you have to be willing to get into the conversation.
Right, exactly. What are 3 cornerstones that we should have in our portfolios? You mentioned real estate, tech. I like that idea.
Yeah.
What else do you think? What else would you recommend?
The ones that I prepared for tonight, first of all, diversification is key.
Okay.
And you either, oh my gosh, you know this, and being on Instagram all day long, my brand is on Instagram. There are so many money experts out there, and the advice that you can get from money experts can be so confusing, right? Like, do this, don't do that, take this, don't take that, right? But the most important concept I want anyone to walk away from with this conversation is that you have to be diversified in your portfolio. Why? 2008 taught us a lot.
Yes, indeed.
Right?
Yes.
2000 and before 2008, even diversification was something that we were teaching in finance. But anyway, those who held only real estate lost everything. Those who only had their wealth in 401ks lost everything. So when we think about diversification, we have to think about how we can hedge against one crisis or another. No one saw 2008 coming except for economists, which no one listened to. That's another story, right? So the ones that I wrote down was metals and commodities. Metals and commodities, when we see the market a lot like it is today, and we see inflation going through the roof, metals like silver and gold are always safe to go back to, and they will help hedge against inflation. So that's one. A lot of people don't typically trend toward toward metals, silver and gold, for example, because they don't know a lot about it. But a qualified financial advisor would be able to teach you how to invest in those. Real estate, again, is always something to hold in your portfolio, although I don't personally believe it should be the only thing that you hold in your portfolio. And a mixture of stocks and bonds and mutual funds, depending on where you're at in your life stages. Younger than 30 or younger than 40, you can afford to have more stock than bonds. But as you get closer to whenever it is that you want to live your life, I don't call it retirement in my world. It's more work life. It's a work optional life.
Yes.
Right? You want to have the option to work. And as the closer you get to Social Security age, you want to shift out of stocks and bonds. But also you want to have some emerging markets. Now, I teach these 5 money personalities, and one of these money personalities is what I call the cheap chip. And the cheap chip is not really, they're pretty risk adverse. They don't like risk. So they aren't necessarily going to have risky investments. But you do want to have some emerging markets and cryptocurrencies in your portfolio. Those are going to be around. We don't know in what way or if they'll be the predominant currency, but they are taking off and there are a ton of them out there. And I think that you can have a little bit of that as an exploratory investment. And so those are the 4. I know you asked for 3, but those are my 4.
No, I love anything that you're willing to share with us. So as many as you want to keep on dropping them in. But I've heard you say this twice, and now I've got to double back because I'm intrigued by your 5 money personalities.
Yeah.
Who are they?
So there's the spender. We call her Spendthrift Sally.
Okay.
There's the cheap chip, or penny pincher would be another way of explaining it. So the spender and the cheap money personalities are very opposite of one another. The spender is very open and abundant with their money. They can make money easily, but it goes out just as easily. And of course, on the other side, the cheap money personality tends to live a bit more in scarcity. They like to hoard their money, hold on to it. A penny saved is a penny earned kind of mentality. But those aren't the only 2. We have this other money personality called the delusional Delilah. All of the business owners that I work with have delusional Delilah in their top 1 or 2 money personalities. You kind of have to be a little crazy to think that you can be a business owner, right? It's a little nutty to think that we're, self-employed for me, but that we're going to do this, right? Like I had this idea and my parents were like, you're nuts. So with the delusional Delilah, it's ultimately that success is highly valued of us. But also we have so many big ideas and we have so many things that we want to accomplish. We have a really hard time focusing on just one to get started. And ultimately, if we don't have the right money mindset, we can burn ourselves out and we can burn through our money just as fast with our big ideas. The 4th is the overgenerous Olivia, which kind of speaks for itself, someone who really values others. But if they're not careful, a lot of their money is going out to others and they're not putting themselves first. So that can be detrimental to us in our finances. And then the 5th one is the avoider. So the avoider is someone who buries their head in the sand. They tend to look at the bright side of things, but also they have a really hard time dealing with conflict. And they're the ones that even if they have the money, they're not paying their bills, they're not paying attention to things just because it's not fun or it's scary. They have big fear conversations a lot of the times. And I think that what's most important when it comes to these money personalities is that we don't try to put each other into a box, that one is not better than the other. The money industry is really, it's got a lot of cheap chips in it. And they're trying to put people into their box of save. And if you're talking to a delusional Delilah, she's like, forget about it. I'm going to go invest and I'm going to try to make money. Right. So I love talking about those personalities because it really enlightens us that we're all different and we all have different relationships with money. And if we're different in a relationship, a business partnership, or at home, we want to be cognizant of that because no one's right.
Exactly. And I can see how the 5 personalities can actually mirror our personalities to a certain extent. And also, is there such a thing of having 2 or 3 personalities in one person?
Yes. And I think going back to your original question about money mindset, I think that what happens is we inherit values and beliefs and ways of being from how we were raised.
Yes.
Our beliefs are set by the age 7, what we believe about life, our limiting beliefs. And that is because of the world around us, our parents or whoever it is that raises us in whatever environment we're in. So a lot of times what happens when people take the test is they can be conflicted because maybe they don't know who they are. But I believe that one of them is who we are authentically, and the others are values or ideas that we've adopted in other ways. And some of them make sense, right? If we go to church, it's be generous, give. And so we say, okay, we want to value that, but maybe we're not so generous. Maybe that's not who we are authentically, and we have to work to become more generous. So yeah, I think there's a mixture. I was raised as a cheap chip, and I'm totally a delusional Delilah, but there are some cheap chip things that are very sensible, and I still value those. And so I make decisions coming from that place sometimes too.
And it's so fascinating because just now I'm wondering, as my delusional Delilah self takes over, and thinking about other things to jump into, I'm wondering if our money personalities in any way overlap or mirror our love languages. There
Yeah.
are 5 love languages, and it's, because we spoke earlier about how money really is, first of all, it is an emotional thing and it's personal. And just that piece that you shared, and that we've experienced with respect to how were we raised with money in our parents' households.
Mm-hmm.
How did our parents and our grandparents perceive money, and what was the trickle down effect for us? But I'm thinking, as I'm listening to you, some of my money personalities mirror or overlap my 2 love languages. And I think I need to wait, we might need to have another fireside chat just on that.
I'm in. Bring me back. Yeah,
Yes.
it does. That when I start my talks, when I'm like doing an official talk, and tonight's more of a fireside, so I'm more relaxed. But one of the first things I say is money is intertwined into every decision that we make in our lives. And there are
Yes.
people who reject that, and they want to take their money and they want to take their finances and have it over here. And we can't do that.
Mm.
We can't do that, but we spend a lot of time thinking that we can, and that puts us in denial and resentment. And then we don't want to look at our bank account. We don't want to look at our financial reports. We want to blame others for the results that we have. And it just puts us in a big spiral. So yeah, it's a really cool conversation.
Yeah, it really is. Lisa, we're going to work on that.
Okay. All right.
Um, oh, I know one thing that I I follow you on Instagram, and just recently you were speaking a lot about intentional spending.
Mm-hmm.
What is intentional spending? Why is this an important step for women in building their wealth mindset or their money mindset?
Well, going back to that statistic, 85% of the world's wealth is spent by women. So that's our vote. And if we don't believe that we have more power than that, which I think women, especially millennial women and Gen Z women, they get it. They're like, nope, this is the future is mine. But I also work with a lot of boomer women who don't have that belief system. But we do have the power of the vote in how we spend our money. And 95% of our decisions, also financial decisions, are subconscious and emotional. 95%. So we have the spending power, and yet 95% of our decisions are emotional. So women aren't more emotional than men. That's totally not true.
Right.
But we are the spenders. So for me, it makes sense that people might make the connection that women are emotional spenders, but everybody's emotional, because that's a mental health professional. Right. That's a statistic, right?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, so intentional spending comes back to just taking a moment and being intentional about your life. A lot of people only learn how to spend money through the way that we experience others. And if we're not taught about how to save money, how to invest money, all we know what to do with money is spend it. So when we get it, what do we have to do with it? We have to get rid of it. We have to spend it. Being intentional with how we spend also gives us the power to not be impulsive and not fix our problems with money, because people throw money at problems rather than fixing the real problem. But I make this connection of if, and younger women get this in my conversations, especially Gen Z women, like in their 20s, they get like, if I change the way that I spend, I can change the world.
Yes.
And we are women of global change. And if we are intentional with how we spend and where our money goes, we can support women-owned businesses.
Yes.
We can change the environment by not spending money with toxic companies. We can change our communities every single decision of the day. And that's super empowering. And that's why we're talking about intentional spending.
It is super empowering because we literally can change the world impact. And we can also shift the mindset of others. Inspire them or persuade them, use some of those nice little buzzwords. Really, what we want to do is change their mindset to invest better and smarter and with a more humane hand, I think.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's so significant. And I'd like to invite our guests who are with us this evening. If you have any questions, we are going to be moving to our questions for Lisa. Please drop them in the chat. And while you all are doing that, I have a couple of more questions for Lisa. Oh, okay. Yes. What should we be teaching our girls about money?
That the world is theirs, right?
Yeah.
That there is enough, and that there is way more to money than just how we spend it. And that, yes, we get to have nice things or clothes, or if you want a nice handbag, go for it. But that's not really, I think, the value of the dollar. And that where I think there has been a big miss from the boomer generation down is that they're women, one, not being the earners of money, not feeling like they're the owners of money. They haven't been able to mentor in a way of like, how do we teach our women how to manage their money? But the best thing you can do for your young women that are in your lives is open up where you manage your money and show them how you do it. Talk with them. Stop hiding it, right? Culturally, no one talked about money around me. Only that there wasn't enough, or no, we can't do that because we don't have enough money. So stop those limiting conversations in your household today and teach your young women how to save, how to give, how to earn, and teach them and show them how you're doing it. I know I don't have daughters. I have 2 sons, but I open up when I'm paying bills. Hey, mom, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm paying bills. And I show him how I'm doing it. He's like, wow, there's a lot of money in that account. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about what that means, right? Is it a lot of money? I don't know, but he thinks it is. Everyday conversations about how I deal with money. So be the role model in your household for women. And also that if they started investing today, a 10-year-old girl started investing today, just through compound interest, how much money would she have when she's 20, 30, 40? So investing in herself, teach your daughters how to invest in themselves.
Absolutely. And that's what we promote, women investing in themselves, women making careful and intentional choices for themselves, and investing in our girls because number one, I'm a little greedy. I want to keep that power going. But more importantly, it's we women who literally shape the nests, the nuclei of this wonderful creative world that we're in. And we have to keep that knowledge, the intentional purpose of the money flowing, the power, right? Because we can do so much as far as shaping our own villages and communities when we have the power of money at our fingertips,
At
and
our
also the
fingertips.
power of spending, because it's one thing to have the money, right? It's another shift, another mindset to spend.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's never been more accessible to us by virtue of an app, right? There's Ellevest, there's Acorns, there's Robinhood, there's so many investment apps. Do your research, make sure you're choosing an app that is actually qualified, right? But you can go on and have access to buy stock, and it's easier now more than ever.
Um, oh, here's another thing that you were speaking of recently. Okay, so for me, having a money mindset, investing in yourself yields a return.
Mm-hmm.
That's and you know what? We started our chat this evening on a note of gratitude. I'm very grateful to my mother because she instilled in me from an early age what money meant and how money was an investment in me, um, but also an investment in my community because I was never given money without the knowledge that I should give back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that the one thing, and then as I've matured into an adult, I find that when I speak with women as friends or colleagues, associates, uh, there is another mindset that sometimes is a block, that investing in ourselves, and I'm going to use a stronger word purposefully,
Mm-hmm.
indulging in ourselves is selfish in some way, and that, oh, we shouldn't do that. But we
Mm-hmm.
should.
Why not?
Why not? Self indulgence is not selfish,
No.
it's self sustaining.
Yes, and I think we have to separate the word investment from indulgent. They're different, I think,
Absolutely.
and they work together, and that we get to spoil ourselves from time to time. Being self-indulgent doesn't mean that we are not heart-centered and not giving to others. That we
Exactly.
can do both.
Yes.
We can do both. And mostly it's about making sure our needs are met and that we incorporate play into our lives, right?
Yes.
For me, the indulgent comes from joy. Brene Brown speaks into this beautifully, is that we withhold joy from our lives. And the indulgent comes from drinking from a joy cup. And why are we withholding from ourselves? And that is it's the limiting beliefs or how our families were raised or how our women were raised. And this new movement of the wild woman, I think, speaks into that we can invest in ourselves, we can work hard, and we can also play and have really amazing, fun lives. And that is okay.
Absolutely. And there is nothing wrong with, in fact, um, we all should be choosing happiness. When we choose to be happy when you
Yeah.
wake up in the morning, you know, happiness is a choice. And I know that we all have a lot going on, but, you know, choose to be happy because just from a holistically healthful point of view, when we choose to be happy, we are more productive. We release naturally those serotonins and those endorphins that are feel good. And when we feel good, when we invest in ourselves emotionally through the happiness channel, as I call it, yes, we're more productive, but we're also more inspired. We have more energy. I mean, it's just really a good look. So choose
Yes.
happiness, choose joy.
Yes.
There's nothing selfish about that.
There isn't.
In fact, when you smile, when you're joyful, when you're happy, that is something that is contagious. That is a welcome contagion, you know. And you know, we can spread joy. We can spread the happy. and it's a good look. It's productive.
It is. And when we spend less time stressing about money and we know we're making the right choices with money, we're watching our investments grow, we feel good about where we're headed, we allow ourselves to relax and have more joy. And that is my mission.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I see a couple of questions popping up. As I shift to the questions, Lisa, tell our audience, please, how can we find you? Where are you on the social?
Yeah. Well, the two places that I'm most active, of course, is Instagram. I think so many people are on Instagram. So it's Lisa_Chastain4. I'll put that in the chat. And I would love for you to follow me and message me and interact with me there. We like to have a lot of fun there. We don't take ourselves too seriously. And then my website is lisachastain.com. There are a lot of interviews there. There's free content. I also have a free guide, which will get you to some very good first steps and into my private community on Facebook. So that's where you can find me, is on Instagram and on my website.
Okay, yeah, we have a couple of really great questions here. The first one is, what is a reasonable amount of money to start to invest in the platforms that you mentioned?
Acorn, Robin. Great question. Kind of a loaded question. So I'm going to stay with a parameter that I don't know anybody in their financial situations. I believe that, so if you are under about $185,000 a year in your gross income, under 200,000, check with the IRS on this rule, because it changes every year. But if you can invest $500 a month into your Roth IRA, you're moving in the right direction. That's one of my favorite investment vehicles. And you cap out at a certain income bracket, but then there's always the traditional IRA, and that's a totally different conversation. But a Roth IRA, $500 a month would be a great first goal for mutual funds and investments. And then when I'm talking about cryptocurrency and more emerging markets, think of that as, for me, it's more exploratory. And it really depends on what you have at the end of the month to be able to invest after you've met other savings goals and other goals that you have. But I think a couple $100 a month in Bitcoin, or $100 a month in Bitcoin. There's also other types of cryptocurrencies. We can come back and have this conversation, Monica. I'd love to. Dabble in it. The best place that I buy cryptocurrency and follow it is on Coinbase. So coinbase.com. You want to make sure you're actually investing in that cryptocurrency, because there are third parties out there that are trying to help you invest in their hedge fund or whatnot. So be careful, buyer beware. But Coinbase is one of the best places to look at cryptocurrency and get used to it. There's a lot of education on that website as well. You can read up on it before you get into the game. The other question was what qualified app to use. So there's a difference between Acorns and Robinhood. Acorns is a third-party investor. They're a registered investment advisor. They make the investment choices for you. So you tell them, hey, I'll give you $25 a month. Based on how you answer questions, they start making investments for you. You may or may not be able to buy individual stock there. Robinhood is set up to be able to buy individual stock. So again, be careful with that, because there's no one advising you. You can just go into Robinhood and you can start buying Disney stock, for example. But Robinhood's, they're legitimate. Also, you can go to Charles Schwab and set up, or Fidelity, and set up an account there and start to learn how to invest there. I'm actually a big fan of the Ellevest app, ELLEVEST. Sally Krawcheck has been in the finance industry for a long time. They have over $1 billion of assets under management at Ellevest, and they are women-driven, women-focused. So they have a lot of women businesses that they invest in their platforms, and they have socially responsible investment portfolios as options, and I think that's really cool. And they're a well-trusted organization and app. So those are three. So Coinbase, Ellevest, 4, Acorns, and Robinhood are some that you want to check out. Don't jump into your research, and always find a good investment advisor if you want help and support and learning more about that. Good blog. There's a lot of great blogs out there too.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Hold on. Who is this coming in late to the game?
Gold and silver, you can you could probably find some gold and silver options through a registered investment advisor. I don't deal with gold and silver a ton, but I would say start there. Forex too, Forex is a currency exchange. You might be able to do some work there with gold and silver.
Okay. Did we get? So keep your questions coming. I have another question. Do you have another book in mind, at top of mind right now? Are you going to release another money nugget for us?
Yep, it's in the works.
Cool.
Yep,
cool.
It'll be out in the new year.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And do you have any events or any upcoming appearances that you'd like to share with us that we can support you in attendance, or support you any way that we can support you?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. Right now, I just launched my Raise Your Worth challenge. So it's a 5-day challenge. And it speaks into just what we talked about tonight: money mindset, looking at your money beliefs, looking at your relationship with time. I talk about your emotional bank account and how to make sure your emotional bank account is balanced.
Yes.
I give you learn how to create a trusting relationship with money. So that challenge is live now.
Okay. Where can we join that challenge?
It's lisachastain.com/raise your, I put it in the chat.
Perfect.
How much is a good amount to just keep in savings is a question that just came through on the chat.
Oh.
And I think, so there are several savings buckets that you could have, but if you don't have money in savings, then I think the first goal would be to have up to 3 months of your income in a reserve. That's your short-term disability. So let's say that your monthly income is $5,000. You would want to have $15,000 set aside in an income reserve account. So I think that's a good goal to get started. And you could put that in a money market account, so it's not just sitting in cash, but you definitely want to make sure it's liquid enough. So if there were, of course, we all dealt with COVID over the last year and a half. Some of us needed that money as a reserve as we had to figure things out, right?
Yes.
If you're a business owner, same things apply. Business owner, you want to have 3 to 6 months worth of your income, and well, not really income, but your expenses. You want to have that saved up, because businesses can take a turn in a moment, and we all learned that during COVID too. So you got to have a little runway to figure things out, and 3 to 6 months is about a good enough amount of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as we round the turn, I just want to I just want to ask you this. So I have this acronym that I use a lot. WOW, words of wisdom. So Lisa Chastain, I'd like you to share your wow with us, please, for the evening. What is the takeaway that you want us to walk away with?
Here's the thing about money. We talked about a lot tonight and different concepts, and it can seem overwhelming, and we can get turned around in a moment when it comes to our finances. I've been through it. I've seen people go through it. The average millionaire loses their wealth 3 times. So they lose it, they regain it. They lose it, they regain it. If you learn how to make money, you can always make money. And I think that's a gift as business owners and entrepreneurs, that we learn that skill. So you have to remind yourself that you can always start over. And that's a hard concept, because we want to beat ourselves up when it comes to money. Oh, I made that decision, or oh, I lost that, or oh, my business failed, or whatever it is. Oh, this divorce cost me a lot. But you can always start over, and you can always generate more. So that's the abundant mindset that I hope you walk away with tonight. Is literally, I work with women who come to me in so much financial strain and stress, and they rebuild. and you can always rebuild no matter how old you are. Really, honestly, I believe that. So don't beat yourself up, but just keep going.
And I love that because that's a note of joy for me. You know, you can, regardless of what happens, you can always start over and you can always rebuild. And it's so true. You can always make money. You can make, you know, money regenerates itself, you
Yep.
know. You can make more, you can continue to make more.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Absolutely.
Do we have any a last, I'll take one more question. Do we have any uh no. Oh, the guests, please, if you would drop your email addresses in the chat, that would be a nice thing. If you have a business name that you would like to share along with your email, that would be great. So, Lisa, what is next for you this summer?
I want my kids to go back to school. I am ready.
What is it? It's like what, 2 weeks or something like that? August 9th or some arbitrary date like
Yes.
that.
They have been home for a year and a half. And today I looked at them and I said, you all need to go back to school.
Yay!
Come on. I don't have any more money for you. I can't entertain you anymore.
Right,
We took
right.
our vacations. I'm done.
Yeah, you are done. It's time for you to shift your mindset to your next baby, your next written tome,
Yes.
you know. And so, yeah, yeah, I feel you on that. I really do. For me, it's time to travel again. You know,
Mhm.
I'd like to do what I do, which is fly places
Yeah. Yeah.
and you know, inspire women to love themselves and to care for themselves and do all those great things. It's like I'm tapped out in this market. It's time for me to do what I do and
Yeah.
start to fly again. So yeah, that's definitely on the horizon. It has been such a joy and a pleasure having you as our guest this evening. I invite all of you to not only share the great things that we do at Women of Global Change, and here in the Las Vegas chapter, I have dropped information if you're interested in joining our chapter here in Las Vegas. The information is in the chat. And we have coming up talking about, you know, flying. We will be walking, hopefully. We have upcoming in September, September 25th, the chapter. We are coming together to walk for a wonderful cause, walk, run, or crawl for St. Jude's. And more information will be forthcoming about that in our Facebook group. Jump in and join our Facebook group. We have a lot of really cool things happening, inspirational daily word. All of our guests have contributed now. We've had in this wonderful series 13 amazing guests, and they all contribute into our group, you know, just dropping nuggets. And Lisa, please, whenever you want to share a nugget or a money personality with us, you know, drop something about delusional Delilah in there
Okay.
in our Facebook group, which is WGC Las Vegas. I invite anyone to join. And let's see, what else do we have?
Everybody saying thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, great. And we have great information as well. Awesome. All right. On that note, my dears, thank you for joining us. The financial future is now, is female, with our amazing guest this evening, Lisa Chastain. Thank you so, so much for joining us. And yes, we will come back because we've got to get this thing about the 5 love languages and the 5 money personalities. We
Yeah.
gotta see how that syncs up.
Okay, let's do it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We will.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay.